Aloha, boys and beauties. What's up? My name is Kawika, not to be confused with Kawika. I know it looks like that, but it means David in Hawaiian. We're out here in Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach area, skating around. I'm here with my boy Gav behind the camera. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Gav. What up? So yeah, we're just gonna go skate around today, and we're gonna be talking about some stuff. We'll get into that, so come follow along with us today. Right up here is probably cool, yeah? All right, stop number one. So, like I said, we're just going skating around the beach today, get a little bit of cardio in, talking about some real stuff, like I said. Mental health, something that I've been dealing with for over 10 years now. Inhibiting, gotten in the way, cost me a lot of time, energy, money, emotion, all the above. So this essentially today is going to be my mental health story. It goes back a little bit further than 10 years. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that kind of build up. So yeah, today we're just going to be talking about my story. So that way you guys can hopefully get a better understanding of who I am and where I come from. Hopefully this can be of benefit to anybody that watches it and bring awareness about mental health. So specifically OCD and health anxiety, AKA hypochondria, hypochondriasis. The name has evolved. So let's get into it. Cool. All right guys, so don't mind me. I'm gonna be on my phone occasionally just to kind of read over things. So let's talk briefly about what the definition of hypochondria, hypochondriasis, health anxiety is. So it is a chronic, distressing, and disabling condition. It has the obsession with the idea of having a serious but undiagnosed medical condition. It usually develops during adulthood. So for me, it was a little bit during my childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. It got very severe into my adulthood when I was about 17, 18 years old. Symptoms include a long-term and intense fear of having a serious condition and worry that minor symptoms indicate something serious. I'm sure everybody can kind of relate a little bit to that, especially within the last year, you know, for obvious reasons. So a person may frequently visit or switch doctors, counseling, and medications may help. So in my case, I've been off and on of medication for years, and I'm currently on one right now, and it does help. So more than 200,000 US cases per year. So, I mean, it's not like super common, but it's also not rare. So I know a lot of people, especially nowadays, can definitely relate to it. So I'm just trying to bring some light to what it is, why it affects me and other people potentially, and hopefully this can help you guys. So let's talk about what OCD is, obsessive compulsive disorder. It is a mental health disorder when a person gets caught in a cycle of obsessions and compulsions. In my case, my obsession is there being something wrong with me, I'm sick, I have a disease, I'm gonna die, right? The compulsions are to self-check, you know, WebMD, research stuff, you know, call the doctor, go to the doctor, all of that kind of stuff. Obsessions are unwanted, intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that trigger intensely distressing feelings. Compulsions are behaviors an individual engage in to attempt to get rid of the obsession and or decrease his or her distress. I kind of want to talk about the stigma that usually comes with OCD. A lot of people think of it as like the hand washing, the door knob locking, touching, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different kinds of forms of OCD. For instance, I have a good friend that has relationship or like love or OCD, kind of like that. There's even like religion OCD. There's all types. So I eventually want to get into that. So for me, my OCD, it goes hand in hand with my hypochondria, health anxiety, etc. All right, boys, I know it's getting a little deep here, but we're gonna go over a little bit more of my mental health story. So let's talk about it at the next stop. Let's go. We got some fellow skater girls over here. Maybe we should get a little race going, hey? Should we race? Okay. Yeah? Let's go.
Me?
Yeah, what's your name?
Oh, I'm Catherine.
Catherine? Yeah. Cole. Nice to meet you. This is my friend Catherine. We're about to race. Oh man, how fast can you skate?
We'll see.
Oh, did we start yet?
Oh,
you got the head start.
I don't. I don't know who won. Oh, this one. Okay. Oh. All right. I don't know. That was close, but I think she might have won. I don't know who won.
I think one is K Burns Davis.
Which one is that? Is that Instagram?
Yeah.
I'm illiterate. Go ahead.
Let's see. Da-na-na. Let's try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll hit you up.
I do yoga.
Dude, we both have a lot of injuries, so yeah. But yeah, we need to get better at stretching, so nice to meet you. Bye. All right, well, I don't know who won that race. You guys are gonna have to let me know in the comments, or don't, because I know none of you comment anything. No one's ever really watched. I'm just kidding. What's the next topic? That was a fun little race. Not really sure who won. We'll see back in the video, but yeah, Catherine, cool girl. She does yoga, so we might actually do a video with her. We'll see. So let's kind of get back onto topic here. So I really started to notice, I guess, my OCD and hypochondria, especially like in junior high. I think it really started like to my vivid memory when my buddy Matt passed away from a heart condition. So, you know, obviously super young. He was like a big brother to me. He's my neighbor. We grew up playing hockey together. And yeah, just having something that horrible happen at such a young age to one of your best friends, it's tough because, you know, you start to question a lot of things, right? You start to question like your own health, what could happen to you or your other friends. And then sadly, throughout high school, I actually had a couple really good friends pass away, and one of them actually was from a head injury. He had trauma to his brain from playing hockey. He was another good brother to me, you know, a hockey teammate, and he had concussion symptoms, and he kept playing through them, and he eventually, you know, a good buddy named Sam, he passed away, and that was strike number 2, I think, for me, where, you know, I've had my fair share of head injuries, and that really started to make me question whether or not I should keep playing hockey at that point, because I was playing through a lot of injuries, you know, concussions, my shoulder and my groin. Those are the main ones, and by the time I was 17, I voiced all these concerns with my doctors, and you know, I was playing through injuries from basically 14 to like 17, and they just never got better. The anxiety kept getting worse, and doctors told me it'd probably be in my best interest to not take any more hits to the head because I was already, you know, pretty badly affected from it. So that's when my depression really started. That was about 2011. I was about 17 years old, and that's when I really noticed the depression, the anxiety, and that's when the hypochondria just took off, because I really noticed that I lost all my, I guess, purpose and my presence in life, because my ultimate way of staying present and living in the now was hockey. It's all I knew growing up, and I realized how much it meant to me, not only the values that it brought, but mainly just like being able to stay present and forget about, you know, the world, your problems, all of that. So that really affected me, and yeah, I would say 2011, 17 years old, that's when the hypochondria really started to kick in. So there's obviously a lot of factors that contribute into mental health issues. So, you know, another thing that I would kind of like to touch on is just upbringing. You know, so family, it's a huge part of it, right? You know, it's just me and my parents. I'm an only child, so I was kind of, you know, always in the middle of, you know, my parents' stuff that was always going on growing up. So, and you know, other than that, I have other people, you know, just like very close to me that deal with either mental health or addiction, and that takes its toll on you growing up. You may not know it, and you start to realize those things, they start to surface the older you get. So I want to continue along with my timeline. So this goes back to 2011. This was kind of, I guess, my first, episode when it comes to just a hypochondriac episode. This really freaks me out. And I remember the day, throughout high school, I would dip chewing tobacco. So this hockey thing, you know, just part of the culture, I guess. So 2011, I had this bump, like a white bump in my left cheek right here. And I was with one of my best friends and I showed him and he was like, dude, that's cancer. And what do you think that did to my brain? That freaked me out, right? So first thing I did was I went home and I started researching it, started looking at pictures on the internet. Yeah, horrible idea. WebMD, not your friend when you have health anxiety. It's the worst thing you can do. So I obviously freaked out. I got it checked out and they removed it. They did a biopsy and it turned out to be benign, so AKA not cancerous. They said it was like a mucus seal that got like clogged up. So that is scare number one. So that kind of scarred me. And from then on, it progressively got worse. And there were a couple other instances that happened, and let's talk a little bit more about that. Beauty of a day, eh? Woo! It's a little slippery, eh? Look like a freaking bender out here. Don't chirp me too hard in the comments, boys. All right, guys, so we're at the next stop. So let's fast forward to like 2012, 2013. So I actually had a big bump, like right here. I don't know if you can kind of zoom in and see the scar. See that, like right there? Yeah, okay, so I had a big bump there, but I always kind of just dismissed it. And then my mom noticed it one day and she told me, oh my God, you better get that checked out. That might be cancer. I'm like, great, thanks mom. Scare number two, let's go. So went to the doctor, they referred me to, I believe, a dermatologist, and they had me remove it. I went with my dad, pretty painless. They numbed it up, scooped it out, showed me. It was pretty gross. It was pretty freaking big, like that big. And this was actually the shoulder that I injured from hockey. So like, I don't know. I didn't know if it was related to that, but it ended up being benign. Again, they tested it out, not cancerous. But again, that was just another kind of like scarring thing that just kind of messed with me for a while. So that was, I guess, significant scare number two. So after that, 2013, for whatever reason, I was having like this feeling in my throat, like especially like even when I would like swallow or try to eat food, I just always felt like my throat was like closing and like getting constricted. So that was, my episode, I guess, number three, where I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my throat. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was maybe like throat cancer. If you haven't noticed the common trend or theme here, I'm scared of cancer. That's pretty much it, right? So, or any kind of like disease, that's what hypochondriasis, hypochondria is. So I eventually got that checked out. Boom. Doctor was like, not a big deal, you're fine, don't worry about it. So also that notice that there's a trend with that as well. I get checked out by the doctor, they say you're fine, and then, I'm temporarily okay. But that doesn't solve the problem, it's all just temporary, right? So, yeah. So around the same time, 2013, I was preparing to move out to LA. I eventually moved out here 2014, but for about that year, I was legitimately just like afraid to move out here because I thought that there was something wrong with me. Sometimes it was, just no evidence at all, just unexplainable. I just felt like there was something wrong with me. It became enough of a problem to where I eventually got help and was seeing a therapist, got on medication, and I built up the courage to finally move out here. And for 2011 to 2014, my life was just kind of a mess. Like I was just not living at all. I was living in fear, constant fear. I was in school, I was working on music, working, but a lot of times I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression, and I just didn't really know exactly what was going on. And I finally built up the courage to move out here. And when I did in 2014, I was 21 years old, kind of sheltered like pretty much my whole life, and I kind of just went crazy. I said yes to pretty much everything because at that point I built up the courage to move out here, and I just was tired of not living. So I pretty much just said yes to everything, and you know, there comes consequences when you live like that. So we'll talk about that at the next stop. All right, so 2014, 2016, in that kind of time frame, not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, the anxiety was, you know, there, but it would come and go. I think I was just kind of like literally high on life throughout that time, where I was just saying yes to everything, partying a lot, drinking a lot, smoked weed all day, every day. And fast forward to 2016 is kind of when stuff went back downhill again. So I was actually at the gym and something just kind of triggered me. Like I just started to feel really disassociated and depersonalized. Felt like I wasn't even there. Like felt like life was a dream, and instantly right there was my trigger. That wasn't good. Anxiety was like 100 at that point. Couldn't sleep for days on end because I just didn't feel right, and I was really concerned. So girlfriend at the time, she left me. She couldn't help me anymore. It was the best thing that she could have did though. And then I started to really just kind of figure myself and my life out again. And my moral compass was just all completely off. So I don't know about you, Gav, but we're freaking hungry. We're about to go munch, go get some grub, and we'll pick up from then till now of what I've basically gone through. So let's go eat. Fucking workout in its own. All right, what are you in the mood to eat, guy? Let's go fuel up for this workout, right, Gav? Let's go. All right, Bruco it is. All right guys, so we're here at Bruco, just gonna fuel up before we hit this workout later. So 2016 is kind of where we're at. From that point on, that's when I really fell in love with the gym. So I was just really just weak at the time. You know, I was really worried that there was something wrong with me, and that's how I kind of gained my mental and physical strength back. So I was hitting the gym really hard. That's also when I was getting back into therapy. I got back onto medication, and progressively, you know, I started to kind of just like feel like myself again, which took a while, but you know, it's what I needed. And that's when my passion for, you know, working out in the gym really started. I started to take it a lot more seriously. I made some pretty good gains, and along with that, that's actually when I started to kind of fall into modeling. That was like summer of like 2016. I got scouted, and that was another blessing for me too, because that was just a new passion that I kind of just fell in love with. And I wasn't feeling great about myself before that, and then I started to kind of get, you know, my confidence back. So 2017, you know, I was doing some modeling, but I was also working a job that I didn't like, and that's when I started to drink a lot again. So that became a problem, and you know, my anxiety was coming and going. But there was, I remember a point in time where I felt like I was in so much more control because of what I had just overcome. I just felt a lot better, but you know, eventually the anxiety, it comes and goes. So from that point on, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened next. So I believe on my 25th birthday, I decided I was going to get certified to be a personal trainer. So that, you know, took a while. I was studying for 6 months. I was in school for it, and throughout that time, I have a really good friend. His name is Dan Ramos. shout out Dan. He really helped me and mentored me and tutored me throughout that entire time. And fast forward to 2019, that's when I finally got certified, and then that's when you and I met at the gym. So I got hired, and that's pretty much when my training started to begin. So from 2019 to 2020, I was very busy with training, and it was amazing. But you know, there were times where I was definitely like overworking myself, but it was probably the best thing for me. I was definitely, you know, having anxiety here and there, but I had some lingering injuries. It started off with kind of like a groin injury that I was kind of dealing with basically from the time I was 14 with hockey off and on until I was, you know, like 25, 26, and then it was consistently just bothering me, painful, uncomfortable, and that was another trigger for me. I was like, okay, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with just like, it felt just like my kind of like lower abs, like adductor, right groin kind of area. And that eventually kind of almost even like evolved into like, not to talk about a touchy subject, but my like, you know, private area, specifically like my right like testicle. So eventually, yeah, I got freaked out enough about it to go get a CT scan, which, you know, cost me hundreds of dollars right there. That was like 2019, I believe. And then, you know, I was cleared, good to go with that. I was actually at the time kind of concerned about like there's something being potentially wrong with my bladder, because I was like having to, you know, go to the bathroom a lot, and that was freaking me out. I think that kind of went hand in hand with the anxiety. So 2019 is when I started to do more research, and I was like, okay, I need to figure this out and like get the proper help, because up to that point I've had 2 therapists, but they misdiagnosed me with generalized anxiety. At that point, I knew I had, you know, health anxiety, hypochondria, hypochondriasis. I knew I had OCD traits, but nobody just properly diagnosed me. So that's when I found out about cognitive behavioral therapy. I always kind of like never got the proper help because of either lack of insurance or just lack of money. So thank you. 2019, that's when I started to do CBT, and that really started to help. You know, I started to do exposure therapy and learn just the proper way to manage everything. So with, you know, all of that, with like getting checked out with the CT scan, therapy, like I was okay for a little bit. And then, you know, obviously the pandemic happened 2020, and I was still like kind of off and on worried about that just like general area. You know, like my groin would bother me. I started to worry that maybe it was like, you know, my testicle. And then, you know, I started to just like look more into it. You know, mistake number 1, looked into, you know, like testicle, like testicular cancers, stuff like that. And at that point, I was worried that like I couldn't like go to the doctor because of the pandemic. It was really tough at the time. So my back started to really bother me, and that kind of started with a snowboarding trip. Gav, you were actually there. I was falling on a bunch of ice. I'm not a good snowboarder. I'm gonna stick to skiing. And then I re-injured it deadlifting later that summer, actually 2020 summer. And that's when I started to kind of look a little bit more into, I guess, the testicular cancer thing, because at that point I was like convinced that there was something wrong with it, essentially. You know, I was kind of constantly like self-checking, not good, researching, not good. And then I read the wrong thing online one time. I saw a correlation with lower back pain and then testicular cancer. That triggered me. I freaked out. I researched what kind of doctor I should go to, because my regular doctor wasn't allowing patients to come in. So I went to go see a urologist. They had me get a ultrasound. Again, cost me, I believe that one potentially could have been upwards of like $1,000. I'm not really sure. So at that point, I only had insurance through my work, and it wasn't great insurance. And our food's about to get here, so let's check that out.
Want to just get the hickey burger?
All right, I got the halibut fish tacos. fuel up for this freaking workout, eh, boys? So, yeah, to continue, I got an ultrasound. Everything looked normal. At first, the doctor said that there might be something wrong. It felt abnormal, but yeah, got cleared, was okay. But that was the final straw again for me, where I was like, okay, I have to really like get help and figure this stuff out, because at that point I wasn't doing therapy for a while, and I hit my therapist up again and I was like, all right, I gotta get back to it and figure this stuff out. So
I also forgot to mention that my friend actually noticed that I was getting like a random bald spot in the back of my head. I went to the dermatologist and they said that it was alopecia. So they gave me a steroid shot in the back of my head. Hashtag fake natty. It has eventually started to like grow back, but they said it's most likely stress induced. So that is a lesson learned right there. So I'm really trying to work on just trying to keep my stress levels low, as you should too. And back to the program.
Fast forward to where we're at now, 2021. Lots of ups and downs, obviously with the pandemic. It's been tough, but a lot of blessings in disguise as far as like being a trainer and all of that. But yeah, the anxiety comes and goes, but that's pretty much where we're at right now. I'm doing pretty good right now. Random little scares come and go, but it's more manageable now. So with time, like I said, I've been dealing with all this stuff for over 10 years. So have had a lot of time to just practice and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So, and now I'm getting very serious about just like getting the proper help, which I am, and I'm really thankful for that. And I guess to kind of wrap it all together, I used to have, especially with OCD, you feel like you have to do things just so. And Gav, I know you can relate to this with OCD traits. It's just like everything has to almost line up or be this way or that way, or else it doesn't feel right? Or you have like the perfectionism where you're just like, I have to do this or that before I even can do this or that, right? So, I held myself back a lot from doing this kind of stuff. Fast forward to 2021, 2020, like those were the years where I was just like, I'm just gonna go for it. I gotta do this. And I knew that this was something that I wanted to do for a long time, just doing content like this, fitness related, mental health related. And, it's typical to hear from, especially trainers that are like, oh, I want to help people. But, for me, there's actual substance, there's actual meaning, there's actual purpose behind all of this. So, dealing with this stuff for over 10 years, it's inhibited my life a lot. It's cost me a lot of time, emotion, money, potential like relationships. And yeah, I can't begin to explain how much just it takes away from your life, because it's tough, everybody's problems are different, and it doesn't take away from anybody else's problems. It's at least just so my story is out there, I want people to be able to understand and maybe relate. I'm obviously going to be talking a little bit more about just my experiences and how maybe I've overcome things, but today my goal was just to kind of get a brief summary of like what my story is and kind of what I've been through and how I've gotten here today. And again, like if there's anything that we can kind of like take from this, it just takes time, and just get the proper help and don't give up. Just be positive. Gav, how important that is, right? Be present, be positive, and it's cheesy, but it's so true. And just apply, the therapy and stick to the program and do what makes you happy and do what you got to do. So one of those things that makes me happy is eat. So let's get to that. But in the end, my mission here and goal is to just try and help as much of you as I can. And, with my story, with other people's story, Gav, we're about to literally go hit the gym and hit a workout. And, Gav, you have a story to tell as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So
can't wait.
Yep. Thank you guys. We're going to wrap this up here. We're going to eat this food. And thanks for joining us today. It was really fun skating around the beach, talking to you guys, getting to know me a little bit. Can't wait to get to know some of you. We're going to get to know Gav in this next workout video. So yeah, tune in to the next video, and yeah, we're going to hit this workout. Thank you.